Hello everyone, we'll just wait a few more moments and we'll get underway. Just grab a glass of water, a cup of coffee, make yourself comfortable. We're in for a great session today. Okay, I think we can open the dance floor. Kia ora and welcome everyone. My name is Giovanni Ferrante. I'm the marketing manager for CIPS in the ANZ region, and it's my pleasure to be your host for today. Today's webinar is about sustainability, and we have a great example of an organization that lives and breathes sustainability in its very essence. Before we get stuck into the session, I'm just going to run through a few housekeeping issues. So first and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the many lands in which we meet today. I am currently sitting on the Wurundjeri people land from the Kulin Nation, and I'd like to pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge and extend my respects to our colleagues over the New Zealand border. Kia ora, kia ora, kia ora katoa. Thank you all for joining us. Please interact with us, with the presenter and with the CIPS team through the chat box. Please be aware that all attendees are in listen-only mode, means you cannot speak, but you can certainly interact with us through the chat box. Tell us where you're from, tell us what prompted you to join this webinar, and any other comments that you wish to make or observation. You can also use the question and answer box to ask the presenter any question you might have after the presentation. We'll have plenty of time for Q&A at the end to pick the speaker's brain. Today's session is being recorded and you will receive a link of the webinar in the coming days for review and sharing with your colleagues later. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the topic today, I'm just going to introduce CIPS very quickly. I know we do that during every webinar, but I think it's important to acknowledge some of the things that often go unseen. So I just want to take a slightly different approach today and tell you a little bit about the very different phases that CIPS has as an organization. So we're mostly known for being a membership organization, and that's true. We have over 70,000 members across 178 countries, and that's absolutely fantastic. We are a global network, so beyond the member base, there is a number of people that interact with CIPS, individuals and organizations, and they make up for over 200,000 people. And this is again across all continents. We have presence on every part of the world, or most parts of the world, and that makes us really the global body representing procurement and supply chain professionals around the world. Many don't know we're not for profit, so CIPS' very existence is predicated on public good, about representing, supporting and helping the profession move forward, and that's what we're here for. Sustainability is one of the values that sits at the CIPS heart, and that's why today's webinar is so important for us, alongside things related to ethics and overall social impact, as we've discussed in many other occasions. We're also an awarding body, and we've been recognized and been given the authority to deliver professionally and internationally recognized qualification, independently regulate, setting the global standard for procurement and supply management around the world. Last but not least, we're a body of knowledge. CIPS has a wealth of tools, of resources, of templates that go well beyond what's widely available out there, and help practitioners in different ways to solve practical issues, to increase their knowledge, ensure they abide their professional development duties, and ultimately become better professionals. So that's done with the CIPS introduction. I hope you know a little bit more about us that you knew before. Again, today we're going to be talking about sustainability, and the organisation that's featuring in our case study is called Finsbury Green. It's an awesome organisation. I'm proud to say that it's one of CIPS' longest supplier. We've been working with them for nearly 10 years now, so it's absolutely fantastic. Just a little bit about Finsbury Green and what they do. They're a leading print, marketing, and logistics services firm that operates across Australia. They openly share their knowledge, experience and technology with their clients. This is exactly one of the reasons why we've chosen them as our preferred supplier for marketing and print services. And help organizations reduce cost and protect their brands in a way that's simple, smart, and efficient. Finsbury's goal is to make you look great in every way by delivering savings, visibility, standardization, and greater value. And today we have Finsbury top dog, Luke Tindale, who's currently the CEO of Finsbury Green. He's been working with organizations to review and improve communications category, specific focused on print, marketing, logistic, and data-related services. Luke has been in the industry for many, many years. He has been a passionate ambassador for CIPS, serving on the committee here in Victoria for over 10 years. And he's been operating within the procurement profession for much longer than that. So I'd like to thank Luke for giving up his time. And I know it's a situation where a lot of business leaders are time poor, but we are absolutely delighted to have Luke sharing his thoughts and insights today. And with that, and any further ado, I'm just going to hand over to Luke. Thank you, Luke, and over to you.
Pleasure, Gio. Thank you very much. It's very, very kind for you to invite us along and give us the opportunity to share our experience and our story in regards to a topic that's clearly very, very dear to our heart. So, as introduced, I'm Luke Tindale. I'm the CEO of Finsbury Green. Thank you, Gio, once again. Also, Sophia, who's in the background helping bring all of this to life. I'm extremely pleased to be able to share with you guys a 3-step formula on how to green your supply chain. I've actually chosen a hopefully sustainable and/or green background. This isn't a screensaver. This is in fact my backyard. So working from home, as many of us would be at the moment. Now, the 3 steps that I'm going to share with you, if you've got your pen poised and you want to make notes, the first step is how to get started. Always a good place to begin. The second step will be to how to develop a procedure. And the third step is going to be how to evaluate and review those procedures. The formula is based on Finsbury Green's experience, which dates back to 2002. And no doubt for many of us, working with our supply chains to improve their sustainability and performance is an activity that is both challenging and can be rewarding also. In our case, it's been that 18-year journey, so we consider ourselves reasonably experienced. I just want to make this point too, looking at where everybody's from New Zealand, Dubai, Canada, warm welcomes from everyone around the globe. These are transferable and/or global tips and hints too. So from wherever you're from, they will be relevant. For the benefit of context, Sophia, if we can go to the next slide, please. Finsbury Green manages the print and marketing services category, as Gio kindly said, but we do this for many customers who have extremely keen sustainability charters, especially in the category of print. We do this, thank you, Tim, it is a nice back garden, thank you for that interaction. We do this for many customers across government, telco, utilities, just to name a few. But sustainability covers all industries and categories, of course, not just marketing, but fisheries, mining, finance. So wherever you're from or whatever you're doing, it's relevant to your sector as it is to all categories. Sustainability is relevant. Why? Principally because sustainability is now so high on the agenda and now a central part of any good business strategy. So let's define today's topic. Excuse me, I flipped my script. What is sustainability from a procurement context perspective? Well, I've defined it this way. Sustainability takes into account social, economic, and environmental factors alongside the typical price and quality considerations when procuring products and services. If we could have the next screen, please. I like to simplify this, and I love this slide. It's people, planet, profit. It's a good way to remember. I'm going to go to a poll question here just to make this a bit more interactive and to make sure I'm not talking to a load of people that can't hear me. Brilliant, everyone can. So here's your first poll question, everyone. Fingers on the buttons for those playing at home. Does your company have a formal sustainability program currently in place? So click and let me know, and I can make this presentation a bit more relevant for you all. All right, yes, it's known to all employees, yes, but targets haven't been published, not yet, but eager advocates. That's really good. 40% is a great number and plenty of room for opportunity, especially in that last group of 30%. So we'll make sure we'll leave you with some learnings. Before we move into the steps, I want to give you a little bit of history. I love storytelling, and here's one. It dates back to the late 1980s, where sustainability and sustainable development was raised high on the agenda along with climate change. If we could move to the next screen, please. So in 1987, there was the Rio Earth Summit, where sustainable development was described as respect for human, environmental, and social impacts, and being of significant ethical and commercial value. And that's a fantastic definition. But if we fast forward this to 2020 and ask ourselves the question, what's the driver and or the commander of change today? It's the consumer. It's consumer demand. So once the domain of government regulation and global enterprise, sustainability is now, thankfully, an expectation of consumer demand. So being green is far more than simply reducing waste, energy and water consumption, or lessening environmental impact when producing or sourcing an item. These are expected as business as usual outcomes for any strategic or qualified partner that you may engage. Now, for us at Finsbury Green, focusing on carbon reduction, management and offset, promoting recycled stocks or recycling waste, we're proud to have zero waste to landfill across all of our 5 sites. Of course, we do lean manufacturing, eco design and packaging, and energy conservation. And for 18 years, we've been publishing our sustainability report with targets that we try to achieve and exceed, and some of them are significantly tricky to do so. But all of this is fantastic and great. It resonates with our clients, and we're very, very proud of it. But our clients and their customers would somewhat expect this of us, and for any business that they choose to work with strategically, a partner should have these types of credentials in a modern, strategic and ethically minded culture. So we're proud to have all of that embedded, but we, like many other businesses, need to come up with more than that. We have to come up with innovation to retain our position as leaders and as influencers. So I'm going to do another poll question, if I may, at this point. This question, if you could bring up, Sophia, please. Is sustainability part of your company's overall strategic plan? Yes, and it's known to all employees. Yes, but not widely known to all employees, or not yet. So I'll give you a moment to put your fingers on the buttons and bring in the results of that poll. And let's see what we've got. Yes and no, so not far off the same or similar 40%, which you'd expect some synergy there. Not widely published, and again, eager to advocate. So we've got some real good mix there, including some people to drive some outcomes from this meeting and take them back to the business. That's great, thank you. If we could have the next screen, Sophia, please. Doing a great job there. Thank you. So greening our supply chain. Do we have a real understanding of the sustainable impacts of our supply chain? Yes, we do. Having sustainable behaviour in supply chains can be a big and very perplexing task, but you can come up with some simple solutions. So how do we deliver a supply chain to our customers that exceeds the sustainability demands made of us and provide leadership to our customers, suppliers and staff? Great question. Well, we started this journey by embedding sustainability into our own business to begin with. So that included writing our own policies, our own processes, our own procedures, making sure we've got every conceivable accreditation, globally recognised, independently audited accreditations, because we felt we need to live it as well as do it for our clients, for ourselves, and then also be able to be advocates for this across our supply chain. So what did we do after that? We then addressed this challenge with our supply chain, and we did this through the creation of the Finsbury Green Star rating. The Finsbury Green Star rating is a clearly defined environmental evaluation protocol that is an online survey that all of our print suppliers must complete during supplier accreditation process. Now, again, this covers such items from them that we need validation of, which are their certificates for what their ISO certifications might be, whether they're FSC accredited, what their environmental policies, procedures, waste management, occupational health and safety, all the different areas that cover environmental and work practices to minimise environmental impacts, material waste, water, energy usage, etc. So we have a deep insight into how they operate. This results in a star rating, and that also allows us the additional benefit of not just knowing their star rating in regards to environmental, but it gives us an opportunity to calculate their CO2 footprint for doing carbon reporting also. So that's how we've gone about it. I'm going to do another quick poll question, if I may, the third and final one. So if we could just refer to that. How often do you guys engage your supply chain in your sustainability efforts? Is it regularly, occasionally, or seldom? So we'll fast on the buttons now. So a quick turn around on this one. And the answers are coming through. Regularly, 46% occasionally, and seldom 28%. So great room again for opportunity and somewhat consistent. There's a slight disconnect in the top one with the regularly. If we're 40%, there is an opportunity there to really engage suppliers in a more regular manner, quarterly by nature would be a really good number to engage suppliers every 12 weeks. Okay. Greening the supply chain goes to the heart of embedding sustainable values into our respective supplier networks. It assists in product diversity and also provides key social and environmental objectives. For example, something we're proud of is that once you've got your benchmark and your baseline and you know the star ratings of your suppliers, you can also then categorize them. So, for example, our supply chain now includes supplier categories such as Indigenous, social, and inclusive. And we all know sustainability and social procurement matters. Clearly, this is no longer in debate. Sustainable objectives simply cannot be fully met without the contribution of you guys. Everyone in procurement and supply chain, as professionals, we have a duty of care to promote this. Now, I'm going to get a little bit philosophical for the moment, if I may, just to reflect on what we've witnessed over the past few months. We've seen here in Australia, we've seen fires, floods, and of course, we've all been affected by a global pandemic. This must heighten the awareness of vulnerability and the need to do the right things. It has raised a consciousness of an entire country and hopefully all around the globe to heightened new levels. And it's very, very sobering, a sobering snapshot into what might happen in the future. And clearly, this creates a great motivation and indeed a great time to promote sustainability and sustainable improvement. So if ever you needed advocacy and buy-in from your company, now is the time to put this very, very high on your agenda if it's not already. But how we go about greening our supply chain is the ultimate question. I've given you some examples already. But we need to exceed the environmental demands made of procurement and provide leadership to our customers, suppliers and staff. So to address this problem, I'm going to get into the tips and hints of our story. This will include some suggestions and principles that have followed throughout our journey. And the key messages here is that you can also help and use these in your endeavours relevant to your businesses, regardless of what category or industry sector you're in. Next slide, please, Sophia. Thank you. So here are the not so easy three-step formula to greening your supply chain. Next slide, please. Thank you. First and foremost, get started. Painfully obvious, I know. The accepted definition and foundations of sustainability are made up of three pillars of economy, society, and the environment. So getting started can be as simple as map your supply chain and integrate expectations into supplier selection processes and get buy-in from all parties. Providing your suppliers with your code of conduct position on policies such as human rights and modern slavery, work health and safety, sustainability, supplier diversity and social enterprises is a good starting point. Share yours with your suppliers, and then similarly asking them to provide their policies back completes the circle. You can't over communicate. You can't over communicate your expectations. Therefore, you need to be communicating, sharing your corporate values, sharing your culture, your policies, and help educate and support them in establishment and setting of their own standards. Finsbury Green is fortunate in that we have a proprietary technology enabler called SourceIt that captures this data for us, and it provides us and our clients with the supplier's Finsbury Green Star rating, a transparent and ever-present way of selecting suppliers not only on price, but their sustainability score. It's simple, it's accurate data, and it lets us and our clients make more informed choices. You don't actually have to have that technology as proprietary software. I'm going to show you another way of doing it, but that's ours and that's how that helps. Next slide, please, Sophia. Thank you. So that was step one. Step two is develop those procedures. As I've already described the Finsbury Green Star rating earlier for you, as a reminder of the protocols there, or the procedures there, sorry, the categories that we capture are certifications, policies and practices, material, waste and water, energy and carbon, to name a few. Now, if you go to your supply chain and ask for this information and their certifications, it can be as simple as creating a spreadsheet and a scoring system. And I know that we can all do that. Allocate to that scoring some weighting and allocation of points for achieving certain activities within each of these categories. Make sure you have a method of validating supplier claims, because it's critical, of course, to legitimize your protocol and make sure that it's able to be audited, fully audited. So the results applied to each supplier can provide a useful and consistent measuring tool for the sustainability profile of your suppliers. So from this data, you are then able to measure and, more importantly, set targets. Seriously consider corporate and social responsibility as part of your decision making on value for money. Make it part of your selection criteria and weight it appropriately. For example, some of our clients have decided to preclude suppliers below a certain star rating in our system. Additionally, it is possible to generate a carbon footprint for each supplier from this process, particularly as it relates to materials and carbon usage. Make sure these evaluations are based on independently audited and current environmental science, and how you can simplify that and work that out should you choose to. The Australian Government Department of Industry, Science, Energy and Resources, National Greenhouse Accounts Factors, and the National Carbon Offset Standard version 3 is the best that we currently have in Australia, and it's easily accessible if you wanted to go to that extreme like we do. So that's the development of procedures. If we can move to the next slide, please. Around evaluation. What we need to do now is evaluate. So many organisations publish these beautifully designed reports communicating all of the right politically correct statements and policies. However, dare I say that price often or still appears to be more important than climate and or social change in some instances, albeit we are seeing a shift. I'm sure they are both critical, but again, seriously considering sustainability as part of your decision making on value for money and embedding this into your culture is a tectonic shift, but one that clearly I'm advocating and promoting today. Fully and vigorously exploring who you want to partner with, because the benefits are manifold. By actively promoting sustainable practice throughout your supply chain, you're also able to provide your organisations, customers, or both with the ability to select suppliers based on their legitimate sustainability credentials. Training, performance improvement, and ongoing monitoring is the key to the evaluation and the review procedure. finding the formula isn't always easy. We know this because we're faced with legislative changes, consumer demand changes, new and emerging technologies. So we are constantly evaluating and reviewing our procedures all the time. So to conclude the step 3, I just want to go back to the reminder of get started. Step 1, develop the protocols. Do this in a collaborative approach by sharing yours with your suppliers, getting them to provide theirs to yours and closing that circle. And then the third and final step, regularly evaluate and review these protocols and have those conversations with your suppliers quarterly if you can. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, sustainability is defining our era. It's certainly defined the strategic direction of Finsbury Green for nearly 20 years and has created a community-orientated culture for us. We understand that sustainable practices do drive bottom line improvements, but as an embedded part of business culture, it's part of our induction process. It's part of our DNA. Like I said, we're very, very proud of what we've been able to achieve, and we live it and breathe it every day. And as a result, we see a lot of innovation, innovation from our staff, improve staff engagement and performance. And we see this in the way that we engineer product, re-engineer product, the way that they select and reward suppliers with the most environmentally responsible successes. So again, we're very proud of our leadership position within our industry of print and marketing managed services. And we believe we've made the complex as simple, effective and efficient as possible, but above all, most importantly, absolutely transparent. So I believe that consumer preference for sustainability is only going to be higher and higher on the agenda in the future. So the obvious questions that these consumers are going to be asking is, where does what I buy come from? Where does it come from? What I eat, what I wear, what I procure each day at work. It now comes with that duty of care and that responsibility to know. The Internet of Things, the transparency of farm to fork, circular economy and product data being shared with consumers means that this topic of sustainability is not going to go away and it is an imperative business requirement. It's been an absolute pleasure being able to share Finsbury Green's story and experience with everybody today. Over 150 people online, so that's a very good number. Thank you everyone for attending. At minimum, we would have raised awareness for this very important topic today. And if you can think people, planet and profit, and if you can weight buying decisions accordingly and put a value to each of these 3 points, that would be a fantastic outcome. So in conclusion, again, thank you for allowing me to share Finsbury Green's story. That's how we went about greening our supply chain. I trust you have some tangible ideas that can be implemented at your respective workplaces from your investment in time today. Thank you very much. Over to you, Gio.
Thank you, Luke. Most certainly you did raise awareness, and you gave me some practical things to take away and start thinking about what I do in my marketing space a little different. So thank you again for sharing your story. There are quite a few questions coming through, which is absolutely brilliant. Please keep them coming. We want to encourage as much engagement as possible. There's a couple of questions that I was hoping to ask you before we go to the audience, Luke. You've mentioned at the start that most of the organization you work with have a very strong sustainability footprint. Do they also have like practical programs in place that you've seen? And if so, do you want to share those?
Okay, thanks for that question, Gio. Look, there's two parts to it really. There's the corporate tier 1 and government clients that really have an embedded view of sustainability. So the alignment with Finsbury Green is a cultural and strategic one, sort of hand in hand, and works very, very favourably aligned to their strategy and solution. Then there's, businesses that want to make inroads into this, are really eager to engage a company like ours to help them and walk them through the journey of an improved sustainable outcome within the category that we manage. So either we're complementing those that already are pretty good at it already, or we're taking them on the journey and helping them achieve that outcome.
What's Finsbury Green latest improvement, if you have to describe one within, the supply chain management and procurement solution that you offer?
The thing I'm most excited about, which I did touch upon, but I'll expand upon, it's this. Once you get that baseline of environmental credentials and a method of assessing your suppliers, then we've been able to batch it into different categories. And this has been a government-led initiative that we've then adopted based on the IPP, the Indigenous Procurement Policy. So what we ended up doing there is creating subcategories. So we've got Indigenous, we have inclusive, and we have social. So behind the star rating, we now have these different categories for people to be able to purchase, achieve their targets or their percentage of spend or dollar values into these different categories as well. And I think that's pretty cool. And of course, everything that we do in that space gets reported, so people can use that in their sustainability reports also.
Brilliant. Okay, I think we can move on to the Q&A from the audience. Please do like the questions that you like to be answered them up first.
Who, me? Can I, for me to like them?
This is for the audience.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to like all the easy ones.
Great. So there's one that should be relatively easy. So Anish is asking, is the green star rating that you've talked about based on supplier questionnaire, or does Finsbury validate this information to a third party?
Okay, good question, thank you. So yes, it's an online survey. It covers all of the different attributes that I mentioned in the presentation, and all of what we present within our star rating is audited, yes.
Okay, brilliant. The second most liked question is from an anonymous attendee. It's a bit of a controversial, and there's another one that's very much along the same line. So with the rise of sustainability, do you see a significant switch from print to digital? And how do you see business evolving in coming years, to consider change in customer habits?
Okay, so in our industry, have we seen digitalisation? Yes. Do we promote digitalisation? Yes. A good spruik for the latest collaborative CIPS research document with Melbourne University. So yes, we've seen a significant amount of digitalisation. Part of sustainability for us is also around printing digitally or producing digital outputs, having less product being manufactured or having it produced on demand. That makes it more relevant because you can also personalise it, but it means it's not on a shelf and there's no waste. Does that answer the question? Did I get the question?
Yeah,
Interpret the question right?
Yeah, I think there's a component as well that touches on the changes on consumer behaviour as far as using print as a traditional media.
Definitely,
Versus
absolutely.
yeah,
But the irony is we're seeing a resurgence in Gen Y wanting direct mail. Receiving something with their name in their letterbox is quite unusual for them. So, you know, depending on what surveys and results you look at and what different demographic you're working with, there is a strategy behind what communication touchpoints work best for return on investment and relevance to different audiences.
Yeah, very true. And we see that with our own audience, with our magazine, and some of the changes we've had in recent years on printed copy versus hard copy. I personally believe that the mix moving forward will be highly diversified. And as businesses, we need to cater for all types of customer needs and requests, always keeping sustainability in mind. And, you know, printing in a sustainable manner will be the answer to that. And similarly, using digital in a sustainable manner, because there are sustainability implications on digital outputs as well. So, okay, a question from Clinton. In order to achieve the gold standard of sustainability, as you've described, takes a lot of time and stuff and resources. Have you had to add additional staff in order to achieve these standards, or you've just arrived at that after your 18 years journey? Is there a way to fast track your journey to achieving greater sustainability efficiency?
Well, that's a good question. From a resource perspective, is it resource heavy to start with? Yeah, like anything, you get good return out of your investment when you put some investment into it. So yes, you do have to prioritise it. You do need to put some resource to it. And it's not a set and forget. Like I said, in step 3, you have to have means to evaluate, review and continually improve. Technology enablement makes the efficiency and makes it more effective. So whatever methodology you can use, if it can be automated and it's a online self-user type interactive method of assessment, then it's highly effective, and that's what we do.
And if I can add an additional sort of element of perspective, to speed any change really, the social and cultural element is crucial. So if you make of sustainability your horse battle, if you have it front, right and center of anything that your business does and everything that your people do, it will make the transformation and, you know, the journey a lot easier and potentially a lot faster. So bring people along. We've seen from the polls that despite many organizations having sustainability program in place, those were not necessarily communicated. They were not necessarily shared with all of the business. So just bring your people along the journey. That might make things a little bit easier.
We saw in the poll, Gio, there that we may have targets and it may be part of a strategic plan, but it's not necessarily communicated or fully understood as part of company, you know, values and behaviours. And to your point, having that embedded within company culture radically transforms it to sort of business as usual, and that really fast tracks it. People will live it and breathe it.
Brilliant. We have another question from Michael. Can you advise how you monitor sustainability with your providers? So is this at the center of discussion when you regularly meet with them, or is it just the fact of providing a yearly report? I think you've touched upon that on the frequency of supply, but it's
dynamic.
Yeah,
it's very, very dynamic. So we have start moments where we evaluate as of that minute. But the beauty of having any type of technology enabler like we are lucky to have, it does allow people at any time to continually update their profile. So as people have capital expenditure investments into improved sustainable practices or get a new certification, they go in and they update their profile, and that type of improvement is rewarded within our client base, because a lot of our clients are accessing and procuring themselves based on their own choices. So when they see a supplier's improved rating, then they can reward that and often do with more sales to that client, to that supplier.
Okay. So one question that relates to the current environment and the focus that business have from Anish. Clearly, sustainability, it's a very important topic for business and supply chain. But in the current environment where a lot of businesses are struggling for their own survival, how easy is it to pursue sustainability initiative?
Well, it's imperative. It's there's a double-edged sword with that one, and it's a positive double-edge. In that, by pursuing it, you're being more efficient, saving on a lot of waste, finding and optimizing ways of doing everything leaner, more with less. So that's a positive. And generally speaking, when you are also sourcing through a sustainable supply chain, they themselves have done the same thing. So this shouldn't actually come at a cost. It should come at a profit accelerator and improve the situation, not worsen it. So that's what makes it a very strategic part of any business strategy from now on.
And that's sort of like the follow-up question with a statement that Ailey from Supply Chain Sustainability School is making. So, I mean, in the current situation, we've seen, also the reverse, where many studies are actually showing that, sustainability initiatives are becoming more crucial and more important. Is there any further advice that you would give organizations that are faced with that dilemma on how to do it? You've given plenty of practical tips on how to go about it, but any further advice that you or comment that you have on this?
Beyond what I've shared, what I might do, if I may, I'm just going to refer to my notes, because I figured I might get asked for another more than 3 tips. So I think that the key message that we have worked with our suppliers is around collaboration, a lot of knowledge sharing, and a lot of time spent with them. So I think if you assist your suppliers with their sustainability efforts, then through improved communication and collaboration, you end up with significantly better outcomes. I did a similar sort of event to this, but it was called Vendor's View. And what we've found is if you can communicate with your vendors and have a more trusted relationship, then there is a plethora of unknown opportunities. So communication's key, collaboration, and what you'll find is you'll extract more value by just inviting people through webinar or Zoom, however you do it, into having a discovery session. Because when we host our discovery sessions, we find that what was a status quo expected outcome is one thing, but all the value adds, the extreme innovations and creativities and improved outcomes come from that conversation. So I would promote getting dialogue happening.
That's a really good point that you touched on, and this is what I was going to add as well. I think collaboration is something that we've heard more and more in recent time, and be a real driver for change. Another observation that, again, it's reflected on one of your tips is think about consumer demand. The fact that we are now in the situation we are now, it doesn't sort of give businesses a leeway to non-think about sustainability. yes, we're
Definitely
in a
not.
challenging environment, but customers still demand certain level of expectations from business on how they operate. So, and I think
Yeah.
collaboration could certainly facilitate this transition.
Can I just embellish on that last point? My brain's caught up. There's another thing that relates to that sort of collaborative approach and how you can do that is employ innovative staff. So when you're going through, staff recruitment and you explain your culture of your business, and you can see what their passion is in regards to sustainability. Often creativity and innovation come from the thirst or interest that the staff that you employ have. And we find that we've got a lot of passionate staff. And if you don't have them within your business and can't create that passion, then when you're recruiting, employ innovative staff.
Very good point, thanks. There are lots of questions still to be answered, and if we don't get a chance to answer all of them, we'll endeavour to get back to you all by email, so we'll do a follow-up communication.
Happy to respond to all of them that way.
Fabulous. We might have a time for one or two. Look, you're the CEO of a business that's, again, very much leading and breeding sustainability. What advice would you give practitioners to help get senior management on board? It's a really interesting question that came from an anonymous attendees. How do you drive through the highest executive level of a business the sustainability agenda?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think anybody that's at a senior level within a business, I would like to think need not be sold to, because we should all be able to clearly understand the benefits of sustainability and our duty of care and responsibility to that. The non-philosophical answer and the more practical answer is you could do some impact modelling and just say, look, here is precisely what we're doing, status quo, total cost of ownership, this with limited value add and hardly any value beyond. And in regards to this method of doing it, here are the benefits and serious value by engaging in this supply chain in this manner for this business. And it will be both financial benefit and it will also be a cultural benefit. And for any business leader, they've got to take both very, very seriously, hand in glove. It shouldn't cost more.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think
that's sort of the nub of it. It should not cost you extra.
Yeah, that's another myth to bust along the process. Often when we talk about sustainability project or working with social enterprises or indigenous business, there is that perception that it's going to cost you more, it's going to take more time, it's going to involve more resources. Yep. There's actually a lot of proven studies that show that they can give you a competitive edge. They don't necessarily have to cost more. Will give your company a much better reputation, and it will actually make a real difference in the world. So certainly something to be talked about a lot more openly.
Well, if we oversimplify it and say that if there's less waste, it's more efficient in the entire supply chain for a product or service, then presumably that comes at a lesser cost for the vendor and therefore can be passed to the purchaser at competitive rates. So that's how we work. We work on a totally transparent model, and those savings are actualized through a sustainable supply chain.
Yeah. I think we're going to get one last question in before we will wrap off the session. This is a bit more of a technical one, if you wish, from Helen. Is the Green Star rating standard across all your suppliers, or is it weighted so that suppliers with similar categories or in similar industry can be compared for improvement purposes? Some industry might have lowest score by nature. So what's...
Yeah, so ours is standard flat right across all suppliers in order to give a standard benchmark. And for the category of print specifically, it's pretty straightforward in regards to the way in which that could be benchmarked. And regardless, there's no favourable weighting for any of the subcategories that I mentioned around Indigenous, social, inclusive. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. I think it was, it was touching on some specific industry requirement. There will be inevitably some industry where requirements for particular carbon offsets, I would imagine, or particularly sustainability or green requirement might be driven by the very nature of that particular product or service.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And ours is specific to the category that I operate, and of course there's different certifications and different methodologies for validating, like FSC as an example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's been brilliant. Look, I can't thank you enough for giving up again an hour, more than an hour of your time to share insights with our community. I want to thank all of those that have joined us today. Before you go, please make sure that you do take a few minutes to complete our survey. That's the only way we can improve and actually do better with our future webinars. Look, in thanking you, any departing word or advice for people that have attended our session today?
Yes, I will just say one final point, and that is, if you're not a CIPS member, please make sure you get your membership, because through the CIPS website and login, to Gio's point, you can access a significant body of work, research documents and white papers, and there's lots of really good stuff on there, not just relating to sustainability, but all sorts of strategic procurement practices. So if you're not fully subscribed as a member, get onto it. Little spruik for you there, Gio.
Thank you for the plug, Luke. We didn't ask for it, but it's always nice to have members that are committed to sharing our very same passion. So speaking of commitment and keenness to celebrate procurement excellence, here is a plug for our yearly Supply Management Awards. We're running them in a virtual format. Unfortunately, the current environment prevents us from getting together and share a meal over the announcement of the awards, but we will gather together virtually on the 29th of July at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. for our New Zealand colleagues. It will be an evening of celebration, and there will be an opportunity to truly reward some organisation and individuals that have shown leadership and initiative in various categories, of which sustainability is certainly one. If I can also have a quick plug for some of our upcoming webinars. We've been extremely active, and before we wrap off, I really want to thank my colleague Sophia for all the hard work that she's putting into making these events feasible. She's working tirelessly with presenters, with organisation and with our branch volunteer members to ensure that we do provide relevant content with fresh perspectives that gives our member reassurance that, you know, we're there for them. So speaking of those very webinars, there's a very interesting one coming up next week with an organisation called Control Risk. It's looking at the post-COVID environment and the impact of geopolitics on supply chain. So it's looking at demand planning. It's looking at a holistic business approach on what we envisage to be the post-COVID world. So this webinar is on the 24th of July at 12 noon Australian Eastern Standard Time. And then we have another one the following week, which is again timely given the recent events. So it's touching upon fraud, risk and cybersecurity. We have two of Australian leading speakers from SAP Concur, who's also the sponsor for this webinar, and Accenture, who will be sharing their insights, and that is on Monday, the 27th of July, again at 12 noon time. So thanks again all for joining. Please ensure you take a few minutes to complete the survey. Thank you again, Luke. I also want to thank Rod Wade, who's the Marketing Compliance Director in Finsbury, for tirelessly working behind the curtains and making these available. Thank you again to all of you who have attended today. Please stay safe and enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks again, Luke.
Pleasure. Thanks, everyone. Have great afternoons and stay safe.